John Boulger, born the 18th of June 1945 in Adelaide, South Australia, is a former international motorcycle speedway rider. After he retired from riding solos in the early 1980s, Boulger raced somewhat successfully in Speedcars, Midgets, from the mid-1980s until the mid-1990s. Boulger won a record 9 South Australian Championships, a record jointly held with 1951 and 1952 world champion Jack Young, as well as 2 Australian solo championships during his career. As part of the Australian team, John Boulger won 1 world championship during his career, this being the 1976 World Team Cup held at the White City Stadium in London, England. Boulger had the honour of captaining the team to Australia's first Speedway World Team Cup victory. It was Australia's first world title in any speedway competition since Young's World Championship win in 1952. Career summary: Australia. John Boulger, whose father was a mechanic for international solo star Merv Harding, started his racing career in 1965 racing scrambles as a sidecar passenger with friend Brenton Hanks, which only lasted a year before moving into Speedway. His first race was at the Broken Hill Speedway in October 1966, where he lost an oil tank and seized the engine in his first meeting. He then got his break when he tagged along with leading Adelaide sidecar rider Len Bowes to the Northern Park Raceway in Melbourne. As a favour to Bowes, the promoter let Boulger ride, just expecting him to make up the numbers. But everyone received a shock when Boulger broke the track record in his first ride. His home track was the famed 358 metres, 392 yards, Rowley Park Speedway in Adelaide, and he made his debut there on 29 October 1966. He quickly went from promising rookie to star rider within a couple of seasons, and would become the best South Australian rider of his generation, and regarded as one of the state's best ever riders alongside Jack Young. After finishing second to Sydney's Jim Airy at the 509 metres, 557 yards, Sydney Showground in 1970, Boulger won his first Australian solo championship in 1971 at Perth's 1/3 mile, 586 metres, 641 yards, Claremont Speedway after a bold passing move on local favourite Shum Taylor in the last corner of the deciding heat to give him a 15-point maximum. He finished in 3rd place at Rowley Park in 1972, behind Airy and Denmark's reigning world champion Ole Olsen, and won his last title in 1973 at the Sydney Showground with a 15-point maximum, leaving defending champion and king of the Royal, Airy, languishing in 4th place. Boulger then finished the 1974 championship at the 425 metres, 465 yards, Brisbane Exhibition Ground in 2nd place behind local rider Steve Reimke to cap a 4-year run, where he never finished the Australian title off the podium. He would place once more, finishing 3rd in 1979 at the 302 metres, 330 yards, Olympic Park Speedway in Mildura behind local favourites Phil Crump and Danny Kennedy. Boulger's win in 1973 was the last time a South Australian rider would win the national title, until Ryan Sullivan won in 2004. During the 1970s, Boulger had a virtual stranglehold on the South Australian Solo Championship. He won his first title in 1970 before winning a record 7 in a row between 1972 and 1978. All held at Rowley Park Speedway. He would win his 9th and last SAR championship at the new 430 metres, 470 yards, Speedway Park in 1982. Boulger's 9th SAR title saw him equal the record of 9 wins by Jack Young. As of 2016, This record still stands, with the next best record being 5 wins by Queenslander Troy Batchelor. Boulger narrowly missed equaling Young's record in 1981 when he finished second in the championship behind Tony Boyle at Speedway Park. Boulger was undefeated in his first 3 rides, and was leading his 4th race when his front forks broke, forcing him to crash and not finish the race. John Boulger won the inaugural Australasian Championship at the Western Springs Stadium in Auckland, New Zealand in 1976, defeating Billy Sanders, Phil Crump and multiple world champion Ivan Marger. The Australasian final was introduced as a World Championship qualifying round for Australian and New Zealand riders. He then went on to finish in a 3-way tie for first place in 1977 at the Sydney Showground with Marger and Crump, before eventually finishing third after a runoff. Later in 1982 he won the Australian Long Track Championship in the South Australian town of Morgan. In 1982, Boulger retired from riding in 1984 and decided to stay in Speedway. First by teaching young riders the art of racing a solo motorbike, with many of his proteges racing at the Sidewinders Junior Speedway in Adelaide, which opened in 1978. Boulger has been a long-time supporter of Sidewinders and during the early mid-1980s was a mentor to a number of younger riders including Steve Baker, Mark Fiora, Shane Parker, Craig Hodgson and Shane Bowes, the son of Boulger's longtime friend and the 1968 Australian sidecar champion Len Bowes. In 1985 he started racing sprint cars before moving on to drive speed cars with some success, including winning the prestigious Harry Neale Memorial at Speedway Park in 1987. Boulger would race for a few more seasons before retiring from the sport in the mid-1990s to concentrate on driving his taxi. In 2011, John Boulger was inducted into the Australian Speedway Hall of Fame. On 29 November 2014, John Boulger was inducted into the Motorcycling South Australia Hall of Fame, England. John Boulger arrived in England in 1967 to ride for the Long Eaton Archers, scoring a paid 12-point maximum in just his 3rd match against Exeter. He was recommended to the Long Eaton management by British star Ray Wilson, who had been on the lookout for Australian talent when he rode in Adelaide in 1967 and picked Boulger as a future star. Boulger appeared in 33 league matches during 1967 for Long Eaton, finishing with a 5.95 points average. In 1968, Long Eaton management moved the team to Leicester where they would become the Leicester Lions and Boulger remained for 6 seasons, helping the Lions to 2nd place in the 1971 British League, and gradually improving his average to 9.46 by 1972. In 1973 he replaced Wilson as captain of the Lions and averaged 10.25 points to place 7th in the Riders' Championship. Wilson, that year's British champion, would finish 2nd in the Riders' Championship behind multiple world champion Ivan Marger. In 1974 Boulger moved to ride for Cradley United where he remained until 1976 before returning to Leicester in 1977. He would remain with the Lions until 1979 when he retired from British League racing in order to spend more time with his family and on his business interests in Adelaide. International. Boulger had the honour of captaining the victorious Australian team at the 1976 Speedway World Team Cup held at London's White City Stadium. He also partnered Phil Crump in the 1974 World Pairs Final at Hyde Road in Manchester, finishing in 2nd place behind the Swedish pairing of 1974 world champion Anders Mykonek and his partner Soren Sjösen. Boulger and Crump would finish 5th in the 1975 World Pairs Final at the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław, Poland. 1975 would prove to be Boulger's last World Pairs final appearance. John Boulger qualified for 2 World Finals during his career. He finished 13th with 6 points in 1973 at the Silesian Stadium in Chorzów, Katowice, Poland, in front of the largest speedway attendance in history, an estimated 130,000, where he was the only Australian to qualify, and other than runner-up Ivan Marga was the highest-placed Commonwealth rider alongside English whiz kid Peter Collins, who also finished with 6 points. Collins would go on to win the World Championship at the same venue in 1976. Boulger also rode in the 1977 World Final at the Ullevi Stadium in Göteborg, Sweden, where on a wet track he finished 12th with 5 points from his 5 rides. The only other Australian in the field was Sydney's Billy Sanders, who finished 9th with 7 points. Boulger also rode for Australia in numerous test matches at home and overseas, including captaining the team on several occasions. World Final appearances. Individual World Championship 1973 Chorzów, Silesian Stadium 13th 6 PTS. 1977 Göteborg, Ullevi 12th 5 PTS. World Pairs Championship 1974 Manchester, Hyde Road, with Phil Crump, 2nd 23 PTS. 9. 1975 Wrocław, Olympic Stadium, with Phil Crump, 5th 19 PTS. 9. World Team Cup 1976 London, White City Stadium, with Phil Crump, Phil Hearn, Billy Sanders, Gary Middleton. Winner 31 PTS. 6. References. External links. www. Leicester Speedway Co. UK. John Boulger profile at Cradley United.